Good morning. The first item of business is general questions, and at question number 1 I call Pam Gossel.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government when it plans to implement any necessary measures as a consequence of the interim update from the Equality and Human Rights Commission following the Supreme Court's ruling on the legal definition of a woman.
Cabinet Secretary Shirley-Anne Somerville.
The Equality and Human Rights Commission has launched their consultation updating their Code of Practice. It will run to the 30th of June 2025. We encourage organisations to engage with this consultation. The Scottish Government is reviewing its policies, guidance and legislation impacted by the judgment through the Cross-Government Short-Life Working Group to ensure we are ready and prepared ahead of the updated Code of Practice being published. On the 15th of May, I met with the UK Government to discuss the Supreme Court judgment and our work to prepare for the updated EHRC Code of Practice. The UK Government confirmed they too are waiting for the EHRC's updated Code of Practice before issuing any further guidance to ensure consistency in this complex area of law. The EHRC have not objected to this approach from the Scottish Government.
Pam Gossel.
As expected, the Cabinet Secretary has not provided a clear answer. It's been more than 1 month since the UK Supreme Court's monumental judgment on the definition of the word woman, and almost a month since the EHRC published its interim update. 2 weeks ago, the Scottish Parliament announced that it will be implementing this update. However, bodies that are still waiting for clarity from the Scottish Government include the Scottish Secondary Teachers Association, the NHS nursing unions, with Sandy Peggy calling for the Royal College of Nursing to take a stand, and prisons needing clarity to how to handle transgender prisoners. But this Cabinet Secretary and this Government are dragging their heels. So let me ask again, when will the Scottish Government be implementing the EHRC interim update? Cabinet Secretary, this is a simple question. What is the date?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, as I've already said, Presiding Officer, but I'll try once again. The Scottish Government has already begun its work to review the policies, the guidance and the legislation impacted by that on the cross-government short-life working group. It is a matter for the Scottish Parliament, the decisions that they have taken for relation to the parliamentary estate. But I can assure the Chamber that we have begun to undertake the work. I am disappointed that EHRC cancelled the meeting with Scottish ministers where we could have went through this in detail. I remain, as I've said in my recent correspondence with the EHRC, my diary remains open to further discussions on this matter, and I hope that they will be able to take up the opportunity to speak to Scottish Government ministers soon, because I am also very determined to ensure that the Scottish Government does the work that people would expect us to do.
Ash Regan.
Officer, last week I urged the Justice Secretary to revoke the unlawful gender self-ID policy that has put male offenders, including murderers and sexual torturers, in women's prisons for over a decade. Teachers are also crying out for lawful guidance to repair a decade of lobby-led ideology. Councils across the country are losing court cases. Female prisoners denied justice and their human rights may still yet sue. An NHS Fife policy, now exposed at Employment Tribunal, is clearly unlawful. How much legal, financial and reputational damage will Scotland stomach before this Government stop dragging its feet?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, the Scottish Government has begun its work following the Supreme Court judgment, as I've said in my answers. We have detailed the decisions that we have taken in terms of how we will move forward with implementation in writing to the EHRC. As I say, they chose to cancel the meeting with Scottish Government ministers where we could have cancelled that. If the EHRC have any issues, I would expect them to write back if they have concerns around how we are implementing that judgment, or indeed my diary remains open for ministerial to EHRC direct discussions on this issue. We have raised this with them. They know our intent. I have shared that intent also and discussed that with UK Government ministers who are doing likewise, and we are determined in the meantime to move forward with the implementation. But while we await the Code of Practice consultation concluding, we will continue the work within Government.
Question number 2, Maggie Chapman.
To ask the Scottish Government what discussions the Justice Secretary has had with ministerial colleagues regarding the reported findings from a survey by the Fire Brigades Union that there is support and a need for 52 weeks of full pay for firefighters on maternity leave.
Cabinet Secretary Angela Constance.
Presiding Officer, pay and conditions of firefighters are negotiated on a UK-wide basis through established collective bargaining procedures. The Scottish Government is not part of those negotiations, as it is rightly a matter for the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service as the employer. The Minister for Victims and Community Safety has, I know, discussed the issue of maternity leave when she met with Fire Brigades Union Scottish officials on the 15th of May.
Maggie Chapman.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for her response. The FBU's Fight for 52 maternity survey report makes for stark reading. Firefighters not being able to decontaminate properly before going home to breastfeed, or having to stop breastfeeding early or not breastfeed at all because there are no safe ways to continue once returning to work. Women firefighters in Scotland also get paid over £16,000 less in maternity pay than those in many services south of the border. Will the Cabinet Secretary commit to putting in place 52 weeks of full pay for firefighters on maternity leave as part of the Fire Service's Strategic Service Review Programme?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, maternity pay, like firefighter pay and terms and conditions, is, as I said, negotiated on a UK-wide basis under very well-established procedures for collective bargaining that I know that both the FBU and the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service both remain committed to. It is an important matter that the member has raised, and of course the health and well-being of staff along with their terms and conditions is of course a crucial matter for the employer. I am very much aware of the calls made by the FBU on the 7th of May. For information, the SFRS maternity leave is currently 26 weeks full pay, 13 weeks on statutory maternity pay, and then there are some other flexibilities. I should say that the SFRS went beyond the collective agreement by extending this to support staff. It is obviously a very live issue for the FBU, and it's important to say that there are particular operational procedures for pregnant and breastfeeding firefighters, particularly as they can't participate in operational duties due to risks of contamination.
Question number 3, Michelle Thompson.
To ask the Scottish Government to what extent it considers workers in the health and social care sector to be skilled.
Minister Marie Todd.
The Scottish Government greatly values all of our health and social care sector, recognising that they all have the skills required to undertake their individual roles within the workforce. Their knowledge, compassion and dedication are essential to delivering safe and effective care, and their contribution is vital to our public services. For our social care staff in particular, I agree with the Coalition of Care and Support Providers in Scotland, and I reject the notion that social care staff are lower-skilled workers. That term is demeaning and disrespectful, given that they provide critical and complex care to some of the most vulnerable people in Scotland.
Michelle Thompson.
I thank the Minister for that answer and absolutely echo the sentiment she's expressed regarding the quite demeaning and utterly disrespectful characterisation by the Prime Minister of social care work as low-skilled. Nigel Farage's Labour Party policy of ending skilled visa routes for social care workers is short-sighted, irresponsible and will have a disproportionate impact in Scotland, where social care vacancies are rising and we face distinct demographic challenges. To that end, what further representation will the Scottish Government make to the UK Government regarding the development of a separate pathway for overseas workers to move to Scotland and make a contribution to our society?
Minister. A key strand of the Scottish Government's migration strategy is to engage with the UK Government and to highlight the urgent need for an immigration system which meets Scotland's demographic and economic needs. The Scottish Government issued comprehensive evidence-based proposals to the Home Office during their immigration white paper's development, including our proposals for tailored migration routes to Scotland, including a rural visa pilot and a Scottish graduate visa proposal. None of these proposals were included in the White Paper. We continue to engage with stakeholders and will ensure that their requirements are reflected in ongoing engagement with the UK Government.
Sandesh Gulhani.
A declaration of interest as a practising NHS GP. At last week's ministerial statement on the care sector, in response to my point that we should be training more people here to work in our care sector rather than rely on immigration, Minister Marie Todd said, and I quote, "To suggest that there are in the villages and communities that she represents young people who are fit, healthy and able to train in the skilled jobs that social care requires is a very challenging point to make." I found this response a shocking attitude from the Minister and a disservice to young people who I believe are capable and smart enough to be trained despite what the Minister thinks. So I'll ask again, why are the Government not willing to look at training some of our 125,000 unemployed Scots who are desperate for jobs in our care sector?
Minister.
So let me make the point again that I think that Sandesh Gulhani has just illustrated that he has absolutely no understanding of the rural communities that I represent and the challenges that we face with respect to our demography. All over Scotland, the population is only growing because of immigration. But if we look closely at the rural areas in the Highlands, the challenge is immense. I am surrounded by schools which are closing. The ageing demographic is hitting us hard and it is hitting us first. And it is simply outrageous for Dr Gulhani to suggest that there are lots and lots of young people in the communities that I represent who are hanging around unemployed, doing nothing. It is also outrageous for Dr Gulhani to suggest that anyone, just anyone, can be trained to work in social care. That is completely untrue, and if Dr Gulhani were to engage with the social care sector, he would understand that better.
Question number 4, Ross Greer.
Thank you. To ask the Scottish Government regarding its work to support faith and belief communities, what plans it has to join the Buddhist community in Scotland in celebrating the 90th birthday of His Holiness the Dalai Lama on the 6th of July.
Minister Colcab-Stewart.
The Scottish Government greatly values the rich contributions of all faith and belief communities in Scotland, including the Buddhist community. On the significant occasion of the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday, and on behalf of the Scottish Government, I offer my warmest greetings and best wishes to the Dalai Lama and the Buddhist community in Scotland, acknowledging their role in promoting peace, compassion and cultural diversity throughout the country.
Ross Greer.
Thank you. I'm very grateful to the Minister for her remarks on behalf of the Government, and I know the Buddhist community will be as well. The most important issue for Buddhists across Scotland and the world celebrating the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday is the matter of his reincarnation. When the Panchen Lama died 30 years ago this month, the Chinese Government immediately kidnapped the 6-year-old boy chosen as his successor and the boy's family, then installed their own false Panchen Lama in his place. Buddhists fear that they will attempt the same with the next Dalai Lama. The Scottish Government enjoys positive relations with the leaders of many faith groups, and His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama has made a number of visits to Scotland. Does the Minister agree that it is for Tibetan Buddhists to choose the 15th Dalai Lama in line with their traditions and teachings, and that the Scottish Government would only recognise a Dalai Lama appointed on these terms?
Minister.
I'd like to thank Ross Greer for bringing these issues to the Chamber. I am aware that he travelled to India in April and met with the Dalai Lama. The Scottish Government supports the principles of religious freedom and human rights. It believes that the Tibetan Buddhist community should have the right to choose the next Dalai Lama without external interference.
Question number 5, Carol Mockin.
Apologies. Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what recent action it has taken to improve the prevention and monitoring of malnutrition and dehydration.
Cabinet Secretary Neil Gray.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Scottish Government is committed to preventing malnutrition and dehydration, and we have established a working group to develop recommendations for prevention, early detection and early intervention. We will shortly publish a 10-year population health framework which, alongside recommendations from the Malnutrition Working Group, will inform a new diet and healthy weight implementation plan. And the Scottish Government is also supporting Health Improvement Scotland to review the 2014 food, fluid and nutritional care standards, which aim to ensure that everyone receiving care gets safe, effective and person-centred nutritional care.
Carol Mockin.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that answer. Malnutrition is believed to be on the increase across Scotland, particularly in our vulnerable communities. As well as this being totally unacceptable, it places significant pressures and cost on our healthcare system. Many families, including those within my own South Scotland region, face high costs, poor food availability and significant inequalities, all of which limit their access to nutritious foods. The Cabinet Secretary mentioned I believe he was referring to the Malnutrition Short Life Working Group, and it was commissioned to recommend a framework for the prevention of malnutrition and dehydration. It was over 2 years ago and we've had no detail to date. So I asked the Cabinet Secretary, can he tell us when we will actually see the framework? When will it be published?
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you. I thank Carol Mockin for her question. As I said in response to her first question, we will be bringing forward the Diet and Healthy Weight implementation plan that has been informed by that working group alongside the Population Health Framework, which is coming imminently. There is also a significant amount of work ongoing to support people in communities to prevent some of the issues that she rightly raises as being a concern at the moment, such as work on our 5 family payments, the Scottish Child Payment, the Best Start Foods, Best Start Grant, which could be worth over £10,000 by the time an eligible child turns 6 years old. We've also got Healthy Start vitamins, which contain vitamin D, provided free to all pregnant women throughout their pregnancy. So there are a number of steps that we're taking to try to address the poverty-related drivers of poor nutrition and malnutrition that Carol Mockin speaks of, as well as responding with the framework which will be coming imminently.
Question number 6, Marie McNair.
To ask the Scottish Government whether it provide further details of initial assessment of the potential impact of the UK Government's immigration plans on the Scottish care sector.
Minister Marie Todd.
Our initial assessment is damning. Plans to end international recruitment of care workers are short-sighted and will be devastating for the care sector in Scotland, which relies on international talent, particularly in rural and island communities. The number of health and care worker visa applications has already fallen since the 2023 restrictions on bringing dependents, and now Labour wants to reduce this further. Workers from overseas have and will continue to fill vital roles in the sector. The UK Government Immigration White Paper completely fails to account for Scotland's distinct demographic needs, demonstrating why Scotland needs a tailored approach to migration.
Marie McNair.
I thank the Minister for that answer. The Chief Executive of Scottish Care, Donald McCaskill, has described this move as deeply concerning and disturbing for the Scottish care sector, and he is right. The UK Government's efforts to go to the right of Farage on immigration policy will be extremely damaging to the care sector. Does the Minister agree with me that this is just further evidence that Scotland needs the full powers of independence to maximise the capacity and skills of our social care workforce?
Minister.
I agree wholeheartedly. Scottish Care estimate that there are 15,000 to 20,000 international care workers in Scotland. The UK Government plans to end the recruitment of care workers are short-sighted and will be devastating for the care sector in Scotland, which relies on international talent, particularly, as I have emphasised, in rural and island communities. Migrants make a huge contribution to Scotland. We need a migration system that meets Scotland's needs, and the White Paper completely fails to account for Scotland's distinct needs.
A concise question number 7, Sharon Dowie.
To ask the Scottish Government what steps it is taking to support dental practices.
Minister Marie Todd.
Our significant investment in NHS dental payment reform in November 23 provided the sector with a stable platform to move forward from. Official statistics show that the NHS dental services are performing well under the new system, with over 4.1 million courses of treatment delivered to patients in 24. We have been clear that the payment reform must only be the first step in ensuring sustainability of our dental services, which is why our programme for government sets out a number of actions to improve the NHS dental workforce, both now and into the future.
Sharon Dowie.
Thank you. The SNP promised to abolish NHS dental charges, but in Ayrshire, patients can't register with NHS practices and are being forced to go private. I contacted 24 dental practices in the area. Not a single one is currently accepting new NHS patients. What is the point of having free dental care if people can't access it? What is the Minister doing to fix this? Has the Government increased the number of funded university places for dentistry? And what concrete steps is this Government taking to ensure patients can access the free, high-quality NHS dentistry they were promised?
Minister.
So, as I set out, the programme for government sets out key actions to improve the NHS dental workforce, backed by £3 million of funding in 25-26. We will expand domestic dental student numbers by 7% from September 25, supporting our annual dental workforce pipeline. We also plan to launch an innovative new training package that will support international dentists to join the NHS Scotland workforce, and we'll work with NHS boards to refine financial incentives to support dentists to move to work in more rural areas, those golden hellos that we have mentioned several times in the Chamber.